I'm Whitney.
I'm Mindy.
And I'm Deb.
We're three best friends who love nerdy things.
Well, some people think we're nerdy, but we think we're pretty awesome.
This is Our Nerdiest Thing.
Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Today, we're going to be discussing the 80s classic?
Cult classic,
Teen Witch. And we're going to be the most popular girl. So top that.
I don't... Did you
And I like
that?
boys.
Because that was pretty interesting.
I just go with the flow, and sometimes it works. Before we get into all of that, Deb, will you please share just briefly about our cocktail this week?
You were very adamant about briefly. Do I go
Well, no,
over?
they have to come to the Thursday episode to get all the information.
You're like, briefly.
yeah,
Deborah.
we're gatekeeping this.
Yeah, that's right. There's only two places you can see this recipe, people.
Yeah.
You can, there's one place you can see it, one place you can listen to it. You
Yeah.
can listen to Thursday's episode where we talk about Butcher Blackbird,
Mm-hmm.
or you can go to ournerdiestthing.com. But tonight we have a little cherry amaretto sour. It's quite tasty. I
is
put
good.
It's like yum.
It is. I put a little shot of Hellfire on top of mine and Mindy's. It's like a hot vodka, so I recommend that. But this drink is called Plucking Skullduggery.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll have to just listen to find out why.
We're not going to tell you.
No, it's
Not
delicious.
Not today.
It is. It's very cherry.
It is. It's really good.
I think my exact words were, it tastes like I'm drinking the juice from a maraschino cherry jar.
Yeah, it's really good.
So
Yeah,
good.
I like it a
Yum.
lot. Thank you so much, Deb. And we're just going to keep on keeping on with you, Deb, because it's time for our Nerd Alert nerdy news.
You act like I always have 20 books to tell people
and
about.
Mandy and I have none.
Zero.
That's okay. Because you know what? I tell you about these and then I read them and then I tell you to read them. And then 5 years later, you do.
We add them to our list.
Yeah. Okay. So the first book I want to talk about actually comes out on the day that this episode is released, October 15th. It's called American Rapture by C.J. Leede. And this is a dystopian horror story about a virus that's spreading across America, transforming the infected and making them feral with lust.
Ooh. So like sex zombies.
Yeah. Call me scared and horny.
Yeah.
So the next one, and this is one I saw on NetGalley a long time ago and took it to my queer daughter and was like, oh my God, is this actually called this? So this book is called Sword Crossed. And it's by Freya Marske. It came out on October 8th. And this is a cozy, low stakes, version of Legends and Lattes meets the bodyguard fantasy part of From Blood and Ash, but it's queer, right? So I kind of laughed it off. But then when I was in our local bookstore, our local indie the other day, a novel romance, the bookseller told me that the banter in it's like amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm gonna be into that.
Banter is
So-
always nice.
Yes, it is. The next one is called The Heir by Sabaa Tahir, and that actually just came out on October 1st, but I wanted to bring this up because if you read the YA fantasy series Ember in the Ashes, which is really, really amazing, I loved it. This is actually set in the future, so it's in the same world, but it's not the same people, and it's about an orphan, an outcast, a prince, and a killer who are going to bring the empire to their knees.
Nice.
And the
It's
previous...
a motley crew.
I know, right? The previous series was all about like this army that was doing like obviously super fucked up things to people and keeping people essentially like through propaganda down and like not trying to like find their magical powers and stuff. And so I'm excited to see what this new series is going to be by her. She's an
cool.
excellent author. And finally, I want to talk about The City in Glass by, I'm so sorry, I don't know how to pronounce this. It's Nghi Vo. Nghi
I would
Vo?
say knee.
Nevo. And I want to make sure you all know it's not The City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. It's City in Glass. And this is a adult romantasy where a city falls from the invasion of angels, but a demon is left with nothing but memories and a book containing the names of those she's lost. Oh, and also they are bound to the angel who is cursed to haunt the city that they burned down.
Oh.
So I'm very excited about that one. It's very supernatural.
I was just going to say.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
We're on
So
the same
I do.
wavelength.
I've got A City in Glass, The Heir, and American Rapture on audio right now. So reviews coming soon.
Yeah, stay
Maybe
tuned.
not by the time this episode comes out, but they're coming.
Well, fun. That's lots of good spooky season.
Yeah, for sure.
Books.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, that goes right into our nerdy and dirty. What are we reading? Mindy, you want to go first? What are you reading?
I just finished. I'm going through my book of the month books because I have way too many and I wanted to put a dent in them. So I took on my trip Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. And I had a lot of people tell me, oh, you have to read that. It's so good. And I actually really, really enjoyed it.
Here's the thing, though. When people tell us to read psychological thrillers, you and me especially, we're like, okay.
I know. I always go into these with caution because you know me, I guess it like halfway through this.
Well, and I said you and me because Whitney doesn't even read them. She reads like the first sentence and she's like, this guy did it. He like hasn't even been introduced as a character.
She's like a resident expert.
Yeah, she is.
But I actually really enjoyed this. It was really cool. It was so this girl had a best friend that got murdered, and she was the one that was holding the murder weapon and covered in blood when she was found, but she has no recollection of it. But
when that happens.
I know, but they didn't have enough evidence to charge her with it, so she was like chastised and like she left because she was so like
shunned.
Yes, shunned. And then she comes back because her grandmother's like, oh, come to my birthday party, and she like basically makes her come back, like guilts her into it, because there's this podcaster who is doing sort of like, he takes cold cases and tries to solve them. So he was trying to solve it. It's very good. There was a twist that I didn't see coming. I really, really enjoyed it. And again, like you said, Deb, it's really hard for me to enjoy a psychological thriller, but I really did enjoy this one, especially when I had so many people being like, you have to read it. You have to read it. And usually I'm disappointed.
You gave it 5 stars, right?
I did. It was excellent.
That's high praise for me.
It is. And then currently I'm reading Sleep Tight by J.H. Markert, which I think I had talked about on our spooky season reads.
Yes, you
so
did.
I am now in my spooky season read era, and I'm reading it, and I've just started it, but I'm actually already really into it.
I like his writing style a lot.
His writing style is
very
great.
80s Stephen King in a
yes,
good way.
I was exactly going to say the same thing.
Like a lot of like creepy creatures, but then also a lot of like fucked up humans.
It's mostly fucked up humans so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm really enjoying it, and a review to come, I'm sure.
Great.
Nice. Well, I have read 5 books since we last saw each other. I've done a ton of reading. So I am not going to go through like all of the plot of these books. I'm going to just tell you what I loved, what I liked, and what I didn't love so much. So
that sounds good.
Away we go. What I really loved was Goldfinch by Raven Kennedy. That is book 6, the final book in the Plated Prisoner series.
Which I want to give a quick shout out. She'll be on the podcast soon.
Yes.
So we'll be talking to her about that book, and her book tour will be over, so it'll probably be spoiler heavy.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And then I also loved Pucking Sweet by Emily Rath, which is book 3 in the Jacksonville Rays series. And then I also loved The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center, which one of you guys I know.
I did. I gave that 5 stars.
It's like, I know we talked about
Mm-hmm.
this. And there's also Phantasma by Kaylee Smith that I liked. I kind of loved it and kind of liked it. I had mixed feelings a little bit by the time I finished that book.
Me too, because, and here's what I found out. There's going to be a second book, because I felt like things weren't all the way wrapped up the way, and I have them in my notes, and I don't want to get into it in the podcast because it's our book club book this week. So I'm going to send them with you because I can't go.
Yeah.
But there were some plot holes that really bugged me. And then the next book is Genevieve's point of view, and Genevieve gets on my fucking nerves. I don't really want to read a book about her. She's like an insufferable character. So
yeah, I mean, I didn't dislike her, but my whole issue with Phantasma was just, I knew there was a book 2, but I didn't know that it was like focused on a secondary character. And I thought it was a continuation of the first book, like still focusing on those same main characters. So then when you get to the end of book 1, I was like, oh, and that just threw me off a little bit. But overall, I liked it. It was fine. But I really loved Goldfinch and Pucking Sweet and the Rom-Commers. The Pucking Sweet is a good continuation of a series, right? It's not the last one. It's kind of in the middle. I think she's going to have 5 or 6 is her plan.
5, I think.
Plus the novellas in between. So I really enjoyed seeing scenes we've seen before in the other 2 books from a different point of view. Yeah, I thought that was really cool the way that she did that. I liked it.
I love the part where, spoiler alert, but I love the part where one of them comes into the room and they're like, okay, so I'm pretty sure that Kay and Jake and Rachel are over there fucking right now.
Yes, yeah.
And they're like,
do you hear that?
He's like, He goes, wait, there's a third voice. Do you hear that? That's Kay.
Oh, that's right. That was when they were in the
hotel.
Because they all think
so
they're
funny.
being all sneaky.
And they're totally not.
And what you
I
find
love
out
that.
through these series is everyone knows that everyone's fucking, but
Yes.
everyone thinks they've kept it a really good
Nobody,
secret.
everybody thinks that nobody knows, and everybody does. Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. Goldfinch, I gave 5 stars. I thought it was a really great ending to an amazing series that I've really, really loved. And then the rom-commers was just a fun little read, a rom-com read that I needed after the book that I'm going to tell you about in a minute that I didn't love so much. That one was kind of a downer, and the rom-commers brought me back up. So awesome. I enjoyed that. And then Phantasma, I liked it. The ending threw me off, like I said, but overall, I thought it was really creative. The trials are fantastically unique. I thought like that was so good. And so, well, I have a lot more thoughts about that, but it was good. I liked it. It was fine.
It's not something I've ever read before.
Yeah,
and that's what I enjoyed about it.
It was very creative, very unique. I really loved the bringing in the like Dante's Inferno, the different levels of hell. That was one of my favorite books that I read getting my degree in English, and we had to read a ton of like pretentious stuff. But I really enjoyed Dante's Inferno, so I was excited about that. The one that I did not love as much is a memoir. It's called Girl Uncoded. It's by Brandy Dredge. Sorry, I was looking for my notes and I got lost in my own writing.
And this is a book that we got from, I think, Hachette. I'll have to double check.
I'm not sure exactly who it came from, but we did get it as like an art.
Thank you for sending us a physical copy.
Yeah, it was good. It's this is this woman's life, and there's some really deeply personal, deeply traumatic stuff that she shares, which I think is great. I think that's amazing to share your story. Ultimately, overall, I just think like it's not for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't bad or anything like that. I just think it was a story that wasn't for me. She is an incredibly strong woman. She really had to fight through some dark stuff in her life, especially as a parent, as a mom.
Because it's a true crime like memoir, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like who the fuck did I marry on TikTok? It's kind of like that.
Oh.
It's that kind of vibe. But there are young kids involved. Here's where it just wasn't for me. The first half of the book is her talking about her as a child, as a teenager, being, a wild teenage girl that has a lot of freedom that maybe doesn't need it, and she ends up getting pregnant by like an adult man as a like 16-17-year-old girl. And as a former high school teacher, I had a really hard time with that because there were so many things where I was like, what is happening? Why are we doing
triggering for you?
Yes, like it was just hard. It was just hard. I know that was her story, and that's the existence and the circumstance for a lot of people. It was tough. It was tough for me.
I can't do any type of high school romance or anything like that, even in like dark romance, because I have a 16-year-old. She's about to turn 17, but I'm like, that is nasty.
Yeah, it was just not for me.
Even though I felt so clued into my body at that age, I was like so mature.
Oh, not me. Not me. So, yeah, I've read a lot. I'm halfway through another memoir that I'm actually really enjoying. It's very, very funny, but I'll wait and save some info about that when I finish it. So,
cool.
A lot of reading for Whitney.
That's great.
That is great.
I'm glad.
And a lot of different
especially
things.
because the kids were off school. I'm surprised you got that much reading
Me
in.
too.
That was all before they got off school.
Oh.
I literally read 5. I'm not joking. I read 5 books from a Tuesday to a Sunday.
Oh my God.
Damn. That includes Goldfinch, which is what, like 600 pages or something?
Yeah.
You also read quick.
But I also didn't do literally anything. All I did was read.
You know what, though? Sometimes we really need that.
I'm serious.
We do.
One of my kids ran out of clean underwear. And that's for real, because I was reading
You know
instead
what?
of...
They're going to go to college someday, and they need to learn that they're going to have to just free ball it sometimes. That's just how it is. Or every day, like me. So, speaking of me, I finished Carnage by Chantal Tessier. It's the 5th book in the Lord series, and it was a 5-star read for me. But of course, mind the triggers, my friends, because this book is extremely dark. The whole series is. There's a lot of dubious consent and a lot of BDSM that's not always in the most healthy way. Like we've talked about that a lot on this podcast. But the author has a really interesting way of intertwining the story and giving the reader a like, what the fuck moment in every single one of her books. Like there's all these little things that you're like, they didn't tie that up. They didn't tie that up. And then like all of a sudden you're like, yeah,
and then
she's
it all
really good
makes
at
sense.
that. Right. So I just finished that, but I'm also reading Monarch by Sophie Lark. I talked about this book a couple of weeks ago. in our release news, but this is the one I was telling you all about. That's about the mail order bride that goes in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
her
Yeah.
soon-to-be husband is a really famous author, and he's like building this castle. But the more I'm reading it, like there's definitely something really off about him. And while they're building the castle, they're staying in this really nice like boutique hotel, and the owner of the hotel is like tall, dark, and handsome, and also realizes something's up with the author. And so I'm really hoping that the female main character and like the hotel guy are end game.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to be, because this other guy, they're not making him likable at all.
Like,
But
why would you want them together?
Yeah, Sophie Lark, I really enjoy all of their stuff. They're just really... They do dark mafia, but it's really easy to read. And I don't know how she does that, because sometimes when you're reading dark mafia, you have to go like, wait a second, what? Who is that? And what did they do? Right.
Yeah.
And she makes it not even light, because her books aren't light. She just somehow makes it very readable.
Yeah.
So I enjoy them a lot. So
Goes
review
down
coming
smooth.
for that. That's what she said. That's more of Chantal Tessier's thing, though.
Well, up next is what we're watching, and I know for me, and I think for Deb, it's going to be not very much. I
really?
basically watched Teen Witch for our episode today, and read a bunch of books, and that is what I did.
So
that's it for me.
I traveled to Charleston. I was home for 12 hours and went to Michigan. I was home for 8 hours and went to Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I'm beyond wiped out. And so what little free time I've had, I've read or slept.
Yeah,
That's it.
100%.
And I will tell you, I'm feeling like garbage today. It is hitting me. I have one more trip this weekend, but I very suddenly got into this huge art show. So now I'm which is great, but now I've got like the stress of that on top of traveling. But my lovely husband, the sexual producer, is going to run my booth the first day while I'm traveling. And then I'm going to come back a little bit early, but I'm really, really excited. But yeah, I literally have not had the television on at all.
I feel you on that.
Well, I'm actually watching something, and that's
Yay.
atypical for me, and I love it so far. So it's called Nobody Wants This. It's on Netflix, and it's got Kristen Bell, who is a national treasure. I love her. And then Adam Brody.
I can't wait to watch this.
Yes,
It's so
I'm excited
good
about that.
Adam Brody is, he was in OC, and he was also in the Gilmore Girls. Just such a cutie patootie.
He is, yeah.
And so she's actually a podcaster, and their podcast is very sex positive, and she wants it to be very, uplifting and teaching moments and things like that. And then she's in it with her sister, and her sister just wants it to be like sex. Yeah. And they're trying to like get it, off the ground, basically. They're trying to get some people really, really interested in it and like make it go, far and wide. So that's her, and she's also agnostic, and she runs into this guy that Adam Brody plays, and he is a rabbi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Are they allowed to have sex? Rabbis?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay,
They actually
yeah.
talk about that in I think the first or the second.
They're like, we got to clear this up.
Yeah. We're just going to start off with that. But no, it's super cute. There's great banter between the two of them. I'm only like 3 episodes in, and I wish I had more time to watch it.
It's on my list of things
it's
I want to
so
watch.
good.
It's based on a true story.
No, I didn't know that.
It's a true story. The two sisters I'm pretty sure this is the same people. They are daughters of David Foster, the like insane music producer who was married to a Real Housewife of Beverly Hills, and now is married to somebody much younger than them. But yeah, they're the Foster sisters.
Okay.
But one of them, it's a true story about her husband.
Oh, well, I've seen a lot of video
Spoiler
clips.
alert.
About her ex-boyfriend, maybe her lover on the side.
Seen a lot of videos, and Kristen Bell could have chemistry with a shoe.
Seriously.
She's so great.
I'm telling you, she's a national treasure. Protect her at all costs.
Well, I'm excited about watching
Guard
that show.
Kristen Bell with your life.
Yeah. Well, what are you guys listening to? Deb, are you listening? You're listening to books.
I am listening to books.
Tell us.
So I'm reading this book called Feathers So Vicious, and it's a really cool dark romantasy about a princess of a kingdom that's being razzed by supernatural creatures that can shapeshift into ravens, hence the feathers so vicious. She's kidnapped as collateral and starts finding out that everything that she thinks she knows of the ravens is a lie.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. The supernatural characters are a really cool concept in this book. I don't want to say like why I think they're so cool, but it's something that I've not really read before, and I've really been enjoying it. But I mean, it's definitely fantasy. I mean, it's romantasy, but it's a lot of fantasy. So if that's not really your thing, this may not be the book for you. It definitely gets more into, I would say, like Throne of Glass type fantasy with like the world building and castles and stuff like that.
All that.
Yeah. So,
cool.
but very good. I'm 41% through, and I'm very excited about finishing it.
Nice. Mindy, what you listening to?
I'm actually listening to a book also called How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents. It's by Julia Alvarez. And this is a book that, so there's several of us at my job that like to read.
Yeah.
And we kind of have this sort of like not book club, and somebody will be like, hey, let's all read this. And then we get together for drinks once every like 3 months and talk about
it.
So this is the one that was
fun.
thrown out by them. And it was kind of expensive, and I had an Audible credit, so I just went ahead and got it on Audible. I've had to listen to it on 1.5, which I don't usually do because it bothers me.
Welcome to the club. I love it.
I can only go to 1.3.
But this one actually works that way. It's very different from what I would normally read, and so I'm not gonna like say I love it or hate it right now. I don't even know if I actually like it.
But you're listening to it either way.
It's odd. It's weird. It's like every once in a while I'm like, oh, okay. And I get into it. And then I'm like, you lost me. So I don't know if it's because I'm listening to it too fast or what, but it was way too slow when it was on normal. I was like, I can't do this. I'm going to fall asleep while I'm driving. So we'll see. We'll see.
I speed up the stuff I listen to.
I've been told just to stick with it and everything will come together in the end. It's really, okay, it took me like a quarter of the book to realize it's going backwards in time. So the timeline, so the timeline starts from, present day, and then it goes back. It's about these girls that were in the Dominican Republic during all the unrest, and they end up, their family moves to New York. So then they grow up in America for the second half of their life. So anyway, it's interesting. It's not something I would normally read. So
There's
see.
no castles.
I know.
Vampires. What about the shifters?
Where's the smut?
Where's
the MM romance?
Where's the dick?
Yeah. Well, I'm listening to music. Lady Gaga has new music out. She's in the new Joker movie, which I don't know how to pronounce besides Joker 2 because it's French.
It's getting panned.
Yeah, it's getting really bad reviews.
Yeah.
But she wrote, while she was making the movie, I guess, she wrote basically like a companion album for that called Harlequin because she plays Harley Quinn. And it's basically music inspired by her playing that character in the movie. Cool. And so her first single from that is called Happy Mistake. It is so good. I'm like obsessed with listening to the song. I have reverted back to what I used to do when I was a kid and find the boombox and like play the song and hear like the first little verse and then stop it and write down the words so that I could memorize the song. Like I'm just listening to it
too.
over and over and over so I can learn it and sing along with it.
Mindy, I'm envisioning our March road trip to Less Than the Low Country, including this song.
Oh, 100%. It's
absolutely.
It is so good. And she did a performance live on Jimmy Kimmel. And I think her live performance of it was better than the studio. It is just so good. She is so talented. Every time she puts something else out, it's like better than what she did before. That live I can't even, like, the control and the clarity that she has with her voice. And she's my age. I don't understand. I really don't.
This is your nerdiest thing of the week.
It's crazy. It's so
She is very
good.
talented.
It's unbelievable.
I have to
Go
say,
check it
though,
out.
Margot Robbie's going to always be my Harley.
100%.
Yeah, she just plays the insanity of it so well.
And I haven't seen Joker 2, but I agree with that.
I just really love her as an actress, and I love what she brought to that character. Just like I'm so cute, but I will fucking kill you.
Yeah, and maybe Gaga did a great job too. I don't know. Yeah. But yes, the movie is not getting good reviews. But her music is. So maybe the movie will just be the music. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not a soundtrack. It's a companion album.
Okay.
So it's not really tied to the movie, but it was inspired by the movie.
Gotcha.
I don't know. But it's really good. So go listen to it. And that's also what I'm loving. But I did write down that I'm loving baking. Yeah. Whatever.
At first I thought you said bacon.
Who doesn't?
I'm just loving bacon, guys.
No, baking. I don't have anything fun or specific with that. I've just been baking a lot for my premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So that's cool, huh?
When I'm PMSing, the last thing I'm going to do is like go to the kitchen.
It's very relaxing.
But here's the thing: I don't like baking anyway.
Oh,
so
well,
I
do
know
like
that
to
you do.
bake.
Yeah. I made
I
some
also like to eat.
snickerdoodles.
Yeah.
Robbie's been making bread. I've been making snickerdoodles.
Will you bring us snickerdoodles?
I was going to, but then I don't know if it was the cream of tartar that I got or what, but the next day they straight up tasted like crab. It was
Crab?
Yes. And I was like, am I crazy? And Robbie had some. He was like, no, that tastes weird. And I was like, okay. So then we threw them all away.
I thought you were going to say I was going to, but then we ate them.
No, they were not good. So I had a great time making them,
But
they didn't turn out so great.
So do not use cream of tartar from your childhood home.
But that's what, no, it was brand new.
I'm kidding.
That was the thing. I was like, anyway, I was really upset about it. But anyway, what are you guys
Why do
living?
they call that powder a cream?
I don't know. Liam asked me this
yeah,
exact
good.
same
He did
question.
not.
Yes, he did. He said, why is it cream of tartar? Because it's a powder. And I was like, I don't know.
Tell Liam the inquiring mind.
yeah,
I was like, I really don't know.
I'm very curious.
But what are you guys loving?
Well, speaking of baking,
Snickerdoodles?
what cinnamon?
Ooh.
So I have a couple of things, but one thing is the cinnamon bread from Dollywood. And if you've not had it, this is the first time I've had it, and everybody talks about it. And there's usually like this big long line to get in. Like it's
Yeah.
basically waiting on a roller coaster to get this bread, right? It's like cinnamon bread, but that's soaked in like butter and syrup and more cinnamon. It's so good. It's
Can't go wrong with that.
ridiculous. So we went to Dollywood. So we actually pivoted from our trip. We were supposed to go to Jacksonville and Asheville, and obviously, sadly, those places were not safe to go to for our trip this last week. So we just pivoted. We went to Dollywood, which is one of our favorite places. We actually went to Dollywood for 3 days in a row. Rode everything. There were like no lines. It was crazy. We got cinnamon bread and didn't have to wait in line for that either. But
What a time.
it was really good. But then we also went to Knoxville, which I've never been to. And y'all don't sleep on Knoxville. It is a really, really cute little
love
town.
Knoxville.
I had never been. And there's just all kinds of cute stuff downtown. And of course, I made Darren go to the indie bookstore that they have there. It's called Union Avenue Books, which was super cute. Shout out to Union Avenue Books. Because Darren actually bought a book. Now, guys,
Ooh.
I have seen Darren in our 25 years, right, that we've been together. I've seen him read one book. It was called The Expectant Father, and it was when we were
I thought you were
pregnant.
going to say it was his phone manual.
That's kind of sweet. That's the only
Yeah,
book
he's
that
read
though.
one book. And so he bought this book, and it's called What If? Serious Scientific Answers to Absurd Hypothetical Questions.
That is such
Is
a
that so
Darren
Darren,
book.
right? By Rand. But you all, he came up to me so excited. He's like, I'm going to buy a book. It
Aw.
was so cute.
Tell
and
him
I'm
we
over there
expect a
looking at
review.
Canadian boyfriend romance. Like, you
Yeah.
know, and so I was like, well, get it. Yeah. So I was,
Did you buy any Canadian boyfriend romance?
I did buy it. It's called Canadian Boyfriend, and I cannot remember who the author is, but I'll have to put it in the show notes or something.
So,
funny.
speaking of Canada, I was in Port Huron with my kids. That's like what
Oh,
I'm
yeah?
loving. And it's literally on, like, literally if you cross the bridge, you're in Canada. So
Yeah.
we introduced the kids to Tim Hortons,
Nice.
which was freaking delicious.
Oh, I love Tim Hortons.
And we really just had a good time. My son actually got really sick while we were there, but I got a lot of cuddle time with him, which was nice, and like just one-on-one time. And on our last day, we were able to stop at this themed coffee shop on the way out of town, and it was Edgar Allan Poe, and it was so
that's
that's
cool.
awesome.
so cool. It was called The Raven.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really, really fun
love
place.
that.
Yeah.
How awesome.
That's really fun.
We have to get passports for next time we go back, though, because I've got a passport, but my husband's expired, so like we weren't crossing that border.
Oops.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to our nerdiest topic today, and we're going to talk about the movie Teen Witch. This is from 1989.
This is my era.
That late? I thought it came out earlier than
Yeah,
that. It's from
1989.
because it is the epitome of 80s.
I thought
It
it was,
really
I
is.
thought it was earlier in the 80s
Yeah.
too before I,
it
started
definitely
watching
feels
it.
more 85.
It does, yeah. It does not feel like almost the 90s. It feels earlier in that decade. So let's just talk about it. Overall thoughts, Mindy.
Well, I do have a few little tidbits about it. It cost $2.5 million to make, and it only made $27,843.
Oh my
poor
god!
Yeah.
Teen Witch.
$27,000.
So it was originally pitched as a female version of Teen Wolf, which is an 85 movie.
Yeah.
But, now it's considered a cult classic. The first draft was actually raunchier and was more like a teen sex comedy like Porky's.
Well, that's too bad.
But
They probably
it was pared down to make it a PG-13
I was going to say
rating.
they probably should have just gone with the first version.
Yeah. Jarrett Weiselman from the New York Post described the movie like this. There are good movies. There are bad movies. There are movies that are so bad they're good. And then there's Teen Witch, a cult classic that defies classification thanks to a curious combination of songs, spells, and skin. This movie is so bad. I don't know why I love it, but I do. And I guess it's because it's part of my childhood, but it is the cringiest movie ever.
It really is. I feel the exact same way. I know while I'm watching it, this is not a good movie.
The acting's terrible.
And yet, I really enjoyed watching it. I
Is
did
this
not.
the first time you'd watched it, Whit?
Oh no, I've seen it.
Okay.
I've seen it multiple times. I don't know why I watched it as a kid. I don't know if it was like
because
on
you
TV.
weren't allowed to watch The Lost Boys, so you had to watch that.
Well, there's no way my parents would have been cool with Teen Witch. Like,
that's true.
There's no. I don't know
Oh,
where.
that's true,
I don't know where I watched it.
You and Catherine breaking the rules.
We probably did. I'm sure. I don't know. I remember watching it. There were certain things I basically, before I started watching it, could only think top that. That was the only thing that I
Right,
knew
top
for
that.
sure that I remembered. But then a certain thing started happening. I was like,
Okay, were you like, what the fuck?
I could sing this entire song. Like,
But
Did you pause it and start writing down the lyrics?
Me. Yeah, no. I didn't.
But that opening scene with the sexy sax music,
What
I had forgotten
was
about.
that?
I'm like, what the hell? That's like
I
her
did
dream
not
or whatever.
remember that.
I did not remember that.
I did
either.
not remember that, but I was like, I know that this is supposed to be like a 15-year-old
They
child.
had a
Yeah.
deal with some porn company, and they're like, you have to use our soundtrack.
It was so bizarre, but I had a lot of fun watching it. I will say it was not as much fun to watch as The Lost Boys was.
Right.
And kind of weirdly, I had more fun watching The Lost Boys, even though I had never seen it before. And this movie, I feel like I wouldn't have had any fun watching it if it was my first time watching it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Like, because it's not good.
It's not. It's
not
definitely
a good
got
movie.
the nostalgia factor going for it.
Yeah.
It was a little more risque than I remembered. Though.
I know,
Yeah.
me too. And I'm thinking, did I see this on TV and some of these scenes maybe got edited out?
I think it was on ABC.
It just went over
originally.
my head or what?
They usually show it currently on the 13 Nights of Halloween on ABC or Freeform or whatever it
bet
is.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean
edited
that
some.
would have been long before
I'm
or
sure
long
they-
after you watched it.
Yeah, they have to edit that stuff out. Some of that stuff,
Yeah.
for sure. But it was still well. First, okay, hold on. I love Robin Lively. I will say that. I think
do.
she's very
She's cute.
cute in this movie. She's so I remember watching this as a kid and wanting to be Robin Lively, even though Robin Lively doesn't want to be Robin Lively. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's kind of the whole movie is that she's trying to be somebody different. And I
Yeah.
was like, no, you're cute. I like
you.
I want to be like you. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff that I was like, okay, thinking about does it hold up in 2024? I was like, no.
Well,
I don't think it held up back then.
so I want to say something about it holding up in 2024. It doesn't, but it does have a lot of the same characteristics that we're seeing in current romantasy, including reincarnation, magical powers, humans changing to animals, and that the real key to magic is believing in yourself.
Yes, the magic was in you with all
I also
Right.
think the message of just be yourself that still
yeah.
holds up too.
So, Mindy, I have a question because you're older than me and I'm older than Whitney. So, did you feel in 80s in school that you needed to have rap battles? Because one of the things that
No, but I definitely tried to learn rap songs and white girl
yeah.
rap them.
Oh yeah, I think Ice Ice Baby actually is a '90s song, but I remember when that song came out, it
yeah.
changed my
Stop,
world.
collaborate, and listen.
Okay, but I will say one of the key points when she gets her powers is that she gives Polly courage for her rap
I know.
battle,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm like, wait, did I miss out on
which
something
is
in my childhood?
hilarious. I wrote down in my notes a Roger, a loved one, a joystick, dong, zipper lizard, tallywhacker, trouser snake, schlong.
I put the schlong rap. Oh my god.
I
did not remember that part either.
I did not remember that scene at all. So, listeners, if you haven't seen this movie, it's a sex ed class.
Yes.
And the teacher is trying to do sex ed without saying any of the anatomically correct parts. And I don't even remember what she says.
I don't either.
Oh, she has an umbrella.
Oh,
she says Adam has an umbrella. Like, what could the umbrella stand for? And then the rapper guy stands up and does that and says all that stuff.
Why? Okay, why is everybody rapping? Why?
Why is that person in particular?
1989.
Why is Rhett in particular the one who was rapping?
Yeah.
Like,
So
what?
someone, and I don't know who, just so you know, did make a Teen Witch musical. It came out on CD in 2007.
Oh, see, Teen Witch itself wants to be a musical,
Yeah,
right.
but then they're like, I don't think we could actually do it, so we're just going to do like
just gonna-
3 songs.
So
And that's it.
I have a couple of other facts that actually go with the whole music thing. So that happened, and then the following year in 2008, Ashley Tisdale was actually in talks to like remake the entire movie.
Oh,
really?
And then it got canned, like
Yeah.
a lot of things in Hollywood
Sure.
do. Debbie Gibson was originally cast as Louise.
Oh, I
saw
totally
that,
see
yeah.
that.
For all of you people that were born past this point, she was a amazing 80s like hair singer. And if you haven't heard of her, you need to go listen to Only in My Dreams, because it'll probably
Love that
if
song.
you're like 13, go listen to it, and then you'll be like, she understands everything I'm saying, right?
You know what's funny? When you say Debbie Gibson, I think Robin Sparkles from him for How I Met
potato,
Your Mother.
potato.
I know, right?
Yeah.
The house that Louise Miller walks into at the start of the movie was also used by Michael Jackson in the Thriller music video.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's why it was romantic creepy.
Right. Yeah. And then last but not least, and Whitney, I don't know if you know this, but did you know that the podcast How Did This Get Made did an episode about this movie?
I've listened to that one.
I've
Yeah.
listened to it more than once.
I need to go listen to it.
It's pretty
It
good.
is so funny.
Yeah.
Jason Mantzoukas is like in love with the little brother. The little brother
really?
character. He thinks he's
Okay,
so
he's
funny.
Such a weirdo
why
and a
does he-
terrible actor.
Why does he turn back into a human when he touches water?
According to Madame Serena, it's because Louise's power isn't that strong, and so water counteracts
Yes.
it, which
But
is
doesn't
convenient.
she call on to water for her power?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I
what
thought
she
she was
calls
an earth
on.
witch.
Honestly, I really truly don't know. I think one of my big questions.
It's all very random.
100%. There are no rules. It makes no sense whatsoever, which, okay, that's fine. But one thing that I really could not get over is after she talks to Madame Serena and Madame Serena's like, here, take this book and you have this power. Why is Louise at like a broken down carousel in the middle of the night?
Yeah. That was very
Like,
odd.
what?
You want to know why?
That was so weird.
Madame Serena only comes out to creepy places, and her coming onto screen was actually my favorite part because she is also a seer in the Poltergeist.
Yes. Yeah.
And she was like the epitome of like creepy woman
lady, yeah.
in the 80s. And when she comes on screen, I'm like, oh my God, it's the chick from
It's
the
her,
Poltergeist.
yes.
But I mean, she doesn't like hang out at like Dunkin' Donuts, Whitney. She hangs out on broken carousels. Christ.
I mean, I guess, but
Yeah, that was very odd.
It was so weird.
I feel like though that was a thing in the 80s was carousels. I mean, there was no. I'm serious. There
And
was
rap battles.
There was one in the Lost Boys too.
That's true. I
It was
didn't
like
even think
a
about
big
that.
thing. Like directors were all like,
What's the
"Let's
symbolism
do it
behind
on
carousels?"
a carousel."
Okay, so the Lost Boys and Teen Witch both have the carousels. They also both have a permed mullet saxophone player.
They do.
I clocked that. I was like, oh my gosh, it's a different one, but
Yeah.
but still. Yeah, there were several things about Madame Serena that I was like, this does not hold up in 2024. So I wrote down basically, Madame Serena is a creep. I mean, she just is. Let's be frank. She encouraged a 16-year-old girl to make a senior, so 17, 18-year-old boy who was 24 in real life.
I was gonna say, why
the
do they
way.
all look like they're 30? by the
He
way?
was 20.
Because they
He
were.
was 24 for in real life, and Robin Lively was 17. So like that's
Ew.
that's creepy,
That's-
right?
yeah.
So Madame Serena encouraged a 16-year-old to make an 18-year-old boy her love slave, which is creepy. She has this teen girl sit on her lap, which I think was just supposed to
Okay,
be
that
funny
was
because the
weird.
size. I like because Louise is so much taller than
Well, and
her.
then they-
like it was weird. I
and
didn't
then
like it.
she
And then
sat
they
on her lap,
switched, and
yeah.
I was like, no, you
Okay,
can't
do you
that.
guys feel like Madame Serena has a house in the woods and 2 children go out there and
Yes.
she fattens them up? She
Yes.
puts them in the oven.
100%.
100%.
Yes. Well, and so then Louise brings Madame Serena with her to the high school dance as just some random adult woman.
Oh,
which,
yeah,
like,
that is weird.
You can't do that. Maybe you could in the 80s, maybe.
You
but
could do
you can't
whatever
do that.
you wanted.
You can't do
in
that
the
now.
Well, when you're a witch, Whitney,
I mean, I
the
guess.
world is your oyster.
And then the other thing, there were two other things I could not get over. Louise at one point made a suicide joke, which I was like, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's not funny. And then again, I said earlier in this episode, I was a high school English teacher. Mr. freaking Weaver.
That was my least favorite
He even
part,
has
too.
my name, you guys.
Oh, yeah.
He was the worst.
I'm just so glad
worst.
she's
Who reads a diary out
I know.
loud? That's just the kind of shit that happens. Like, seriously, though, this was so the 80s.
But he was even worse than the guy in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh my
Who was a
gosh.
total dick too. But I love what she does to him. The voodoo doll
that
and make
made
him
me
like
laugh.
strip. That was hilarious.
That made me laugh a lot. But I just, I couldn't with him.
Well, I
that was
also
just, it was
didn't
too much.
Love how they just automatically was like, Manda's sleazy. Why is she dressed so sleazy? And I'm like, first of all, she's in a flouncy denim skirt. Like, that is not sleazy. Second of all, like, come on, girls.
Right. Like, women
do that.
support women.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird.
I had my son, we were watching like parody videos and he was sick and he pulled up Amish Paradise by Coolio or by Weird Al. And I was, speaking of floozies, I was explaining why it was so funny when they're looking at like the Amish Playboy and they're showing their ankle.
Weird Al.
Man.
Another national treasure.
Yeah, 80s national treasure.
But yeah, I still, I say all that. Madam Serena's a creep and Mr. Weaver sucks, but I still had fun. I still had a good time watching it. I will say the brother is a total creep, but he is so funny to me. That's one of the things I love about the How Did This Get Made episode that you're talking about, Deb, that Jason Mantzoukas talks about how funny the brother is. When he walks in and has like breakfast on a tray or something and he's dressed like a bellhop.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I took the liberty of ironing your He has this weird transatlantic accent for no
Robert Pattinson.
yeah, like this weird like old school actor accent for no reason at all. The first time we see him, he's eating chocolate under her bed while she's asleep. And I'm like, what kind of psycho does that?
Are
Like,
we sure
what
that's
is-
actually her brother and not just
Right.
a drifter?
Oh my gosh. And he is so over the top and I love it. I'm sure that's part of the reason why people gave this really bad reviews, like at the time.
Right.
Like, what's the brother
Yeah.
doing? But he's like, nobody wants to date you. You're a dog. A dog. Like, he's so crazy. It made me laugh so
He's probably
much.
25 too in this movie.
I don't know. I
Playing
didn't
like
look
a 14-year-old.
I only looked up Brad and Louise's ages because I thought the same. I was like, this
Yeah.
guy has to be 30.
There's no way.
Like,
Yeah.
when she creeps on him, stalker alert, by the way, when she like sneaks over to the football field and is like looking around the corner.
Then
I
he
was
takes
like,
his shirt off though. I was like, oh, Brad, hello.
and that's when I was looked up. That is when I looked up his age because I
That's
was
okay,
like,
he's 25.
I was like, there's no way he's still a teenager.
Yeah.
He is absolutely an adult man. Like
Yeah.
teenage boys don't look like that. Right? But Brad, we talked about this before we started recording. Brad and Randa in real life got together over this movie, and they are married and still married.
I think
today.
that's so cool.
I love that they've been together. So what is that? 35.
She still
years?
loves him,
Almost
even though he
35
wears
years.
bolo ties. That was the worst. I was like, who wears a bolo tie to prom?
Somebody in the 80s.
Yeah,
I'm sure
apparently.
Rhett did.
Okay, and here's my other question. So he starts sort of seeing Louise, and then Randa's gone.
I wrote the same thing down.
And then all of a sudden she's back for prom.
Yeah, so he's dating. Okay, so they're like the hottest couple in school, right? Like they're hot and heavy dating Randa. And then he takes Louise home, but doesn't take her home, takes a detour to an abandoned house in a field of sunflowers,
Yeah.
which I'm like, okay.
Sexy.
He like teases her to
Yeah.
come upstairs and he takes his overshirt off
Yeah.
and then has like a super heavy cut
They
tank top
They know
on.
they can
Like-
just have sex in the car, right?
well, and they like made out on some couch in this
Yeah.
abandoned house. And I wrote in my notes multiple times, where is Randa?
Randa?
What happened to Randa? Did Louise kill Randa? Like, she literally disappears.
Yeah.
and
Maybe
then,
that's part of her spell, though, that Randa has
I
to
don't know.
disappear for him to be into Louise.
But then she
Maybe.
shows back up at the dance because Louise Louise tells him no. And he's like, well, I guess I'll just take Randa. And I'm like, what happened? Like, did you break up with her and now you're begrudgingly taking her to the dance? Like,
I don't know.
Were you cheating on her
that was
this whole time?
weird.
That was so strange, and it was
they
not
couldn't
explained.
afford to pay Randa for more scenes.
Like, poor Randa. She literally just disappeared. But I didn't like that it made me feel like he was cheating on her. And then that took Brad's points down a little bit.
They must have used up all their funds on her when she did the I Like Boys song and dance. Yikes.
As soon as that started, I was like, I remember this. I remember watching this. I remember loving it.
I mean, who doesn't bust out their Jane Fonda leotard while they're getting ready in the girls' locker room for a God knows what and start singing about how much you like boys?
I wrote down something like, nobody in my high school looked like this. Nobody looked like this.
No.
These are like 30-year-old supermodel Dallas Cowboy cheerleader type women, right?
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved watching this movie, even though I have a lot to say.
Did you all notice I think it was during the Most Popular Girl song when she's walking through and like everybody's like wanting to be her or whatever. Did you notice there's like Louise Mania posters all over
like,
the school?
We love Louise. Louise is the
that
best.
Didn't happen either.
She's like the Fern Mayo of. Did you guys see Jawbreaker? She's like the Fern Mayo of that movie.
Oh my god!
I really enjoyed her little like walking to the beat of the song when all the random dudes, and of course Red, he's like, hey little mama, come and get in the car, like whatever he said. Like, this Red guy,
he's a drifter. It's not her brother.
That rapper kid, I'm like, I wonder if, I feel like maybe they did an interview with him when they did How Did This Get Made or something, but I'm like, I wonder if he was like, this is it, my music career is gonna take off. Or
he's like, oh shit, I'm never getting a music deal now.
I better live it up in this movie because this is all it's gonna be. But
I don't feel like
loved it.
movies allow overacting the way that they used to. I think I'm missing that a little bit nowadays.
I agree. I think it has to be billed as like a campy, like it's supposed. Yeah, but you're right.
But even the campy stuff, people aren't really overacting anymore.
No.
I think the only thing I've seen recently that's truly overacting is The Room, which is the like widely panned.
Didn't that come out in the 90s?
I think it was like early 2000s or 2007-ish or something like that. But it's like the best bad movie ever.
Right.
That there's overacting there. But it's not good, right? It's not considered good.
My favorite like current campy horror film and Mindy's watched this with me is Cabin in the Woods.
I love that movie.
And they don't even overact in that. It feels like a horror movie, and I mean it is, but like there's a reason behind it, which I don't and I know that movie's been out for a long time, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody that's not seen it. You just need to go watch it. But even that could have been so much campier.
Yeah, it definitely could have.
They make campy jokes. Like they're making the girl that dyes her hair blonde, they've been putting chemicals in her hair dye to make her more dumb.
Yeah.
And shit like that. So I mean, like, they could have done more. But still a very good movie.
Nobody overacts like the brother in this movie.
No. I don't know. The white boy rappers are pretty overacting.
I took the liberty of ironing your homework.
Okay, so with...
I want you to talk in that voice all night.
I want you to give us your rendition of Top That.
Oh my gosh. I don't know the whole thing though. I just know supersonic, idiotic, something, something, something. If you really want to know if you could really top that, so top that. Stop that. Because I don't really give a about trying to top that.
And that's how Whitney's rap career started.
She's like, he's so funky. I'm like, look how funky he is. I'm like, Polly,
come on.
Have some self-respect.
The best too is
Polly,
she's wearing
you wanted courage for rapping, not to like
she's
that.
Wearing like a terry cloth cut-off shirt with a bucket hat.
Yeah, she's wearing a blossom hat, which was very cool.
Those are coming back into style, you all.
All of that stuff is coming back into style. And I'm like, I got rid of all of them.
There are 90s Halloween costumes right now, which really kind of weirds me out.
That's rude.
That is.
That's really rude. Well, so anyway, are there any other thoughts that we want to share?
Oh, we didn't even talk about David. Talk about overacting. The sleazy date.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so for the first like 3 minutes, I wrote in my notes. So she gets hooked up with Randa's cousin. My cousin's in town. Yeah. He wants a date to the dance. Will you go with him? Okay, great. And then she opens the door and Louise is visibly like, ugh, I have to go out with this guy. And then you show the guy, and he's like a cute guy.
Yeah, he's not
and
bad.
I was like, this is the Rachel Lee Cook, she's all that thing. Like, you put a pair of glasses on someone, and then they're supposed to be a loser and ugly, and like, he's clearly a cute guy.
But then he turns out to be
a total
disgusting.
creep. Yeah.
But if you've never watched our YouTube feed, we all wear glasses and we're
Right.
beautiful.
I took a shower. So.
You know who he reminds me of is the guy that Lorelai on Gilmore Girls has to go on a date with. It's like Bo's cousin at the beginning, the really short dude, and he's like, "Why are you so tall?"
Oh,
and then
yeah.
he tells
Yes.
Bo's brother that she's a nympho.
I forgot about that.
And it's what's the guy from
He
Parks
is,
and Rec?
Ron Swanson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he like
That's not
walks
his real
in
name,
and
but
she's
Nick-
like, "Here's the key to
Nick
your room,"
something.
and he's like, "I
Offerman.
got the key to your room," and
Yeah.
she's
Ooh.
like, "What?"
Yeah, ew.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, then I felt stupid when David in Teen Witch is clearly like, oh, he's a creep. Yeah, he was like, he said something crazy
He was
about
saying
driving a car. He was like, I can drive like a hog going through the fog with a boner or something. It was something crazy. And I was like,
he
what?
Talk about over the top characters.
Yeah.
He 100%.
He was like, let's do it with the car moving. And then
That's
I wrote
dangerous, David.
I wrote in my notes like, oh, because I had been championing David. Like,
I know.
just because he has glasses doesn't mean he's a loser. And then I was like, oh, he's like a sexual
definitely
predator. It's not just the glasses; it's the whole personality.
all I had to do for prom in the '90s, guys, was take off my art smock and my glasses, and I was like, good to go.
Everyone was like, wow.
She's beautiful. Well, I just found a noodle stuck to my shirt. I ate Thai food or Vietnamese food with my daughter for dinner, and I was like, "What's on my shirt?" It's a noodle.
Well, at least it wasn't cookies in your bra.
That's true. I'd rather it be cookies in my bra though, because it's been like stored there and it's like edible.
Oh man, is there anything else about Teen Witch before we go to
I think we've said it all.
our nerdiest things of the week? Well, my nerdiest thing is really just reading 5 books in like a week, like a psychopath. So.
And baking with crab cream of tartar.
I don't know how. I don't know how I did that. I tried to find it on Google. Google had no answers. I don't know.
I think you got some.
I've also been losing quite a bit at Mario Kart to my 10-year-old while he's been recovering from ear surgery.
Have him come over here and play with me, and I'll knock him down a notch.
I'm not good. It hurts.
I've
It
never
hurts
been
my
good.
feelings. I told him today. I was like, I've played Mario Kart my entire childhood, and to know that it was all for nothing. I can't even beat my 10-year-old.
It didn't even prepare me for my kids.
It hurts my
So
feelings.
you know that we can like go online and play together.
Yeah, but we don't let him do that yet.
I mean, but you could just use our like.
Well, that's
We
true.
could just play together.
Yeah.
And then I can show him where it's at.
So those are
It'd be
my
fun
nerdiest
for
things.
you and him and me and Harper to play together.
That would be fun. Yeah.
And you won't have to hear me scream at the screen. She'll be at your house.
What are your all's nerdiest things?
Well, mine is, it happened in Pigeon Forge while we went to Dollywood.
I'm very excited
So
about this.
my husband, because I was very disappointed because we were supposed to go see one of my friends in Jacksonville. And I just, when your plans don't go your way, it's great to pivot, but I was still a little disappointed. And so my husband, God love him, he treated me like a queen. Like I got to do whatever I wanted to do. And,
As it should be.
Right. And so we get there, and the first time I'm like, I want to go to one of the like dinner shows. They have like the Dolly Parton Stampede, and it's like horses and like
Dolly Parton.
Well, it used to be called the Dixie Stampede, and I think it's something else now because that's not
PC.
Kind
Right.
of racist. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, and so I didn't want to see that one, and then there was like a pirate one that we were looking at, and then I was like, oh no, we're definitely going to Paula Dean's Lumberjack Feud,
She would have a lumberjack
right?
feud.
So
I can see her like sitting like the gladiators do. And then she's got like a whip from her like throne, and she's
Yeah.
like, keep moving.
well, she was not there, but at any rate, she gathered all her lumberjacks. So this show was hysterical. It was definitely like a comedy show. They had like these weird bits and stuff like that, but these guys were actual competing lumberjacks. Like,
I'm just gonna say she was sending us pictures, and yes, they are.
so they were doing the actual competition of lumberjack stuff. They were like taking out chainsaws and cutting logs, and they did the thing at the end.
If you know what I mean.
The thing at the end where they have to balance on a log and like try to knock the other person off, which was hilarious.
Okay, every time you say it, I'm like, it's log, it's big, it's yellow, it's wood. Talk about a show Whitney was not allowed to watch. It's Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah. So they had it all like that was this big feud between families, and one of the families was the Dawson family, which we thought was hilarious because our son's name is Dawson. So we were sending pictures, and it was a good time, and I did not expect that at all. I mean, it was super cheesy, but also
I love
super
that,
fun.
though.
Yeah.
If you're want to be in your lumberjack era,
Exactly.
there's a guy on TikTok.
Oh,
I've seen this man.
Thorin Bradley is his
Okay.
name, but his handle is like Bradley Thor or something. It's Brad Thor or something. Okay. He could be in a lumberjack competition.
okay.
Yeah.
That's
he
why
is.
she went and bought the Canadian cowboy.
Canadian boyfriend.
She's hoping for a lumberjack.
Well, he is a hockey player, so
Oh, shocker.
You'll have to let
I
me
wonder what'll
borrow it.
happen.
Let me borrow it if it's good.
She's like, if there's not polyamory in it, forget it. Forget it. So I was able to visit some new bookstores the last 10 days. One of them being called Philosophers and Fools. This is a bookstore bar in Charleston. I actually made a reel. It's on our Instagram page at Our Nerdiest Thing. And the staff there were like super awesome.
Yeah.
One thing I really loved about that place is you can purchase a book to send to a child in foster care. They work with this
that.
company. So like you purchase it and they put them all to the side, and then this company comes and takes them to the kids every month.
That's
so
cool.
I bought the first Percy Jackson book, and my line of thinking was that people probably assume that it's all little kids in
Yeah.
foster care. So I'm assuming a lot of the older kids don't get books.
Yeah.
And so I wanted something for the older kids. So
Yeah.
plus that book is just fucking awesome. If
I
you've
love
never read
that.
it. I also finally made it to our local indie, a novel romance. They just moved to a new space in June, and the new store is amazing.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if
Oh,
you're
it's so
local, they have tons of book clubs every month too, and they're doing a thing on like the second Tuesday of the month. It's also like silent book club.
I saw
where you can
that,
just
yeah.
go in there and read.
it's like BYOB too. Like bring
Yeah.
your own book and you
Yeah.
just chill out.
It's like their staff is just super awesome and very knowledgeable and so kind. And you know, she's the one that told me to read the Swords Crossed book, so now I'm going to read it. Yeah. So yeah, that was mine. The bookstore bar in Charleston was awesome.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
It's on our
yeah.
list now to do.
I was gonna say that has got to be someplace we're going.
I know
on.
Elle Mitchell was like, "Hello," and
Yeah,
I'm like, "Dude,
so
you were
that.
already going with us." Hush.
Yeah, well, awesome. Well, that's it for today's episode, guys. Listen in to our Thursday episodes. This week, we're finishing up our discussion on Butcher and Blackbird. See you next time. Bye.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give Mindy my hard
food.
noodle.
That's what she said.
Like what you heard in this episode? Follow Our Nerdiest Thing on Instagram at instagram.com/Our Nerdiest Thing or Facebook at facebook.com/Our Nerdiest Thing. We love hearing from fellow nerds. Email us at ournerdiestthing@gmail.com.